15 years ago today, EA released Need for Speed Underground. While Black Box's first Need for Speed game was Hot Pursuit 2, they had only developed the PS2 version of that game. The first game that Black Box developed for all platforms was Underground, and it was both figuratively and literally a game changer. So strap in for a bit of a nostalgia trip. It's November of 2003, I'm 9 months old, Friends is still playing on TV, your favorite CD is Meteora by Linkin Park, your dream car is the Dodge Viper GTS, and the first thing you do when you get home is turn on your sticker-ridden, busted-ass PS2, load up Need for Speed Underground, and you just keep playing for hours on end until you check the time and realize you're supposed to wake up for school in 2 hours. And I'm positive that this exact scenario has happened to more than just a few of us. People always want to know if a certain game is good or better than the other, but if I'm being completely honest, when the game's ability to create a sense of immersion is so strong to the point where even the thought of time passing and getting hungrier and hungrier completely escape your mind, that's when you know a game is good. It's the ability to pull yourself into the game and keep you in the game until someone gives you a tap on the shoulder or a slap in the face. It was usually the latter for me. But what is it that actually makes it that good? Well, it's a combination of many different things, and I think Need for Speed Underground nails a lot of them. Now, what's a good game without a good story? Name your favorite game or series of games right now. The Last of Us? Fallout? Bioshock? Hell, Halo even? I'll bet 90% of you will have picked a game driven by a deep story. Especially in recent years, deep story-driven games have become so much more popular. But there's one genre of games where a story just doesn't always fit, and you'd be right to guess the racing genre. But that's where Need for Speed stands out. EA found a way to give Underground a genuinely enjoyable and interesting storyline, and because of this, Underground spawned a whole new subgenre of racing games, and I'll get back to this later, but if it weren't for Underground, then Underground 2, Most Wanted, Carbon, and most other Need for Speed games from that point on would probably have never been made. When playing Underground as a child, I genuinely felt like an illegal street racer and felt a deep personal connection with Samantha, and grew an equal hatred for my adversaries, especially Kurt.
Oh, look out! I got boost now, punk!
Okay, I'm joking, obviously, but racing against Clutch, Kurt, Chad, and of course, Eddie, making your way up the rankings made a dumb 6-year-old like me grow a legitimate hate toward the Eastsiders group. For what it is, Underground didn't have that bad of a story, and it's probably the worst part of this game. That's just how good the rest of it is. While EA couldn't have done all that much in terms of story, they definitely showed what they were capable of in terms of gameplay. Now when it comes to gameplay, there are a few different things that make up the total gameplay experience, so I'll split this chapter up into 5 parts, starting with part 1, playtime. Playtime is one of the most important factors when it comes to making a game. Too long of a playtime with a story that's not that interesting and people will get bored and stop playing your game. Too short with a really good story and you leave players disappointed when they beat the game since you left them wanting more. Portal is a perfect example of this. When I first played Portal, I sat in front of my computer for 6 hours straight and completed it in one sitting. There was just so much more that they could have done, but that was it. I even revisited the game not too long ago and I finished it in under an hour. This is where Underground excelled. It wasn't too long, nor was it too short. It offered at least 24 hours of playtime. Well, if you were a huge pussy and played on easy. Even on easy though, certain races like race number 95, Kurt's Killer Ride, could take up a few hours on its own. Look at this. Race number 95, Kurt's Killer Ride. Race number 95, Kurt's Killer Ride, done. Alright? Look at the time difference.
Oh my god. Damn it. Wait, I might still win. Yes!
6:25 to 7:56.
Jesus Christ.
It took me at least 100 hours to complete this game. Part 2. Physics. It should go without saying, but physics also play a big part in how enjoyable a game is. If your game has broken physics, it's a broken game. Broken games aren't fun. Well, not always. But if your game has super realistic physics, especially car physics, most people will hate the game because it's too hard. Not racing fans, but most people. Mafia 2 had very realistic car physics, and to be honest, I found the game most fun when I had the car physics set to the most realistic option. However, a lot of gamers didn't like the fact that it was so realistic. Underground did a great job of keeping its physics realistic, but still fun. Of course, drifting a front-wheel drive car like this isn't exactly possible, but other than that, there weren't any glaring issues with the way cars handled. Lighter cars felt agile, heavier cars felt stiff. Part 3. Features and game modes. Underground had many features that made the game really fun to play aside from just going through the story. Underground had style points, which rewarded the player on their driving abilities. Near misses, jump height, clean sections, laps, or even the whole race, all rewarded the player with style points. Accumulate enough of these style points and eventually you'll unlock new parts and even cars to use in Quick Race. Quick Race was one of the game modes that allowed the player to pick any car they wanted, if they had unlocked it of course. These were just cars that you could customize from the main menu, they had nothing to do with the career mode. You could also, like I said, use special unlockable cars like the Nismo Sentra, the Petty Pablo Eclipse, the Rob Zombie 350Z, the Mystical Celica, the Integra from the beginning of the game, and more. The game also had drift and drag race modes. In the drag mode, the player would be put into a, you guessed it, drag race and would be forced to use a manual transmission. But, I mean, who plays a racing game with an automatic tranny? Anyway, there were 4 shift zones and they all varied with different engines. You could short shift, which is shifting way too early. You could get a good shift, which is a little under a perfect shift, which would be the fastest and launch your car the best. Or you could over rev it, and depending on how much you over revved your engine, it could heat up, and if it heated up too much, you could even blow it. All drift mode did was introduce a different kind of handling, which would make it easier to drift any car, even front wheel drives, and basically you just had to get the most points by the end of the race.
Use your speed, steering, and handbrake to get your car into a wicked slide.
Longer drifts meant more points, and if you got enough points, it would increase the points multiplier, and going into the bonus zone, which is a small strip very close to the walls that, if the player was drifting in it, would yield even more points. As for other race modes, you had circuits, which is just a regular race with laps, sprint, which is just a point A to B race, and you had lap knockout, which is like a circuit, but at the end of each lap, the last person across the line would be knocked out until there was only one racer left. Part 4. Player Customization and Personalization. As far as I know, Underground was the very first Need for Speed game to introduce any kind of customization for your car aside from color. Underground's customization had a variety of options, from bumpers and skirts to exhaust tips to vinyls and decals, many different selection of paints for different parts including engine bay accents and brake calipers, to headlights and taillights to neon underglow. The customization was endless. Well, not really, but you get the point. It was ridiculous. The customization alone was enough to get a Need for Speed game, which explains why they literally have a whole section of the main menu dedicated to just customizing cars. Part 5. Immersion. Wrapping up the gameplay portion of this video is the immersion of Underground. By immersion I have some different definitions, but primarily I mean to say the game's ability to take you out of the real world and stick you in another one. Underground is so addictive to play even today. Just hours of racing non-stop, and when you finally do beat a race, it's so damn rewarding. It's a special charm that only games from the 2000s ever really had, like the satisfaction out of completing a GTA mission from the 3D trilogy, or the ending to a Halo game where it goes back to that main menu and plays that familiar tune. Just to hear that music, that reminder that you did it. It keeps you wanting more. It's a, if I could do this, then I can do anything kind of moment. That's why I've spent countless nights just playing Underground, stopping only to use the bathroom every now and again. Every race, especially tournaments, was so rewarding to complete because they would either unlock the next set of races, new parts for your car, a magazine cover with your car on it, or a new spot on the leaderboard. But I also mean this in a different way. In that Underground, well, you paid like $50 for the game, and that was the last cent that had to come out of your wallet. No paid DLC, no loot boxes, no pay to win, nothing to bring you out of the game world and milk you for your real life money. And I would argue that games are more enjoyable without any sort of DLC, because it was you who completed it, not some special edition card that you had to pay extra money for. Every Underground player had the exact same level of challenge. To game companies today, and I know I'm shouting words at a brick wall, but you don't have to whore yourself for money to get people to play your game. Make it a genuine experience, make it an enjoyable game. Because in the end, that's all it is. A game, not a cash generator. Design something fun, not something to milk money out of people's pockets. I'm not saying that video games aren't a real career, because they are. But when you release a game, it should be a game first and a paycheck second.
Unless my memory's fade, wasn't that long ago. Came out regulated, ain't no fun if your girl don't go. And I love to love you, babe. I love to love you. Love to love you.